Okay, it's time for me to do something different. So, this is going to be my first movie review. Um, right here. I haven't done a single movie review at all, but now it is time for me to, tackle this one. So, it's time to take a look at the 1993 film Super Mario Brothers because, eventually the news, this upcoming Super Mario Brothers movie film uh, is going to be coming out, and I might as well just go ahead and tackle it. So, Super Mario Brothers from 1993 was released by Disney's Hollywood Pictures division, which went defunct like sometime in the late 90s, in the mid to late 90s. Um, it was developed. It was directed by Rocky Morton and Annabelle Jankel. Uh, it was released in May of '93. The music was done by Alan Silvestri, the same composer who also did the music in Back to the Future. And let's just say this. Now, the movie was harshly rated, and it was even disavowed by the Big N themselves. And I will have to go on the record and say this. Despite all of that, it really gained a cult following. And the cast. Uh, Now you have Bob Hoskins, who starred as Mario, and John Leguizamo, who starred as Luigi Mario, and Dennis Hopper, who starred as King Koopa, and Samantha Mathis, who starred as Princess Daisy and the Queen. Now, I will also say this: Hoskins and Leguizamo pretty much stated that the movie was literally a pain in the rear end to work with, and what they were saying is that it was literally a nightmare. The direction of the film was done by a husband and wife team as well, which is true. Which is true that it was that the husband and the wife directed directed this film. But I will also say this: despite that, this film was literally, you know, lambasted by critics and even the Big N themselves. This film definitely got a cult following. Now, let me go on the record and say this: I didn't see the film back in '93, but but years down the line, I did eventually watch it, and coming from my personal opinion, well, I just say, I thought I liked it. I thought it was cool. It's not to me. It's not going to win any kind of awards or nothing like that. But I do feel that this film was definitely something to take a look at. I mean, some parts of the film were pretty corny and hilarious. And one thing I gotta say is that this film definitely had that. It was like a blend of Blade Runner and Mad Max in some of the scenes. But I will talk about that when it comes to the plot. Now, in terms of the plot of the film, I will say this: it started 60 some odd million years ago, and the universe got split into parallel worlds, parallel dimensions, and things that and the third. Now, Dan, the narrator Dan Castellaneta, whom by the way plays Homer Simpson from The Simpsons, obviously, uh, he mentioned about dinosaurs. You know that the world was full of dinosaurs and things like that, and then bingo, bam! Once a meteorite done hit the Earth, pretty much a lot of dinosaurs were affected by it. But there were surviving dinosaurs. There were a couple of surviving dinosaurs who went into another dimension, and evolved into a humanoid race, basically. And there goes, you had the city called Dino Hatton. Right after that, the movie takes on in the mid 70s. I mean, sometime in the 70s, like in 1973. There was a large dinosaur egg and a rock, being held over at a Catholic orphanage. And that particular egg ended up hatching into a human. Yikes. How weird is that? A dinosaur egg being hatched into a human. Now, tell me that's something weird. And then the film transitions to present day, where you had the Mario brothers, Mario and Luigi, who were working as plumbers out in Brooklyn. And their businesses were their plumbing business were literally about to go belly up. I mean, by some construction company. And then at one point in the film, there you had Luigi meeting Daisy, uh, who was a college student, and they were like excavating like a lot of dinosaur fossils and things of that nature. However, and then there's another scene where some of the pipes were open, and it led to another interdimensional portal going towards this city called Dynahanon. And you want to know what's the weird part? Here's another weird part about this film. Uh, Princess Daisy happens to be a descendant of one of the dinosaurs. Yeah, eventually she ended up encountering Yoshi in the film while being held prison under Koopa's domain over in Dino Hatton. And there's a scene in the movie where where Daisy's father, the king, was all but nothing but a bunch of slime. Yeah, basically nothing more than like a big glob of slime and whatnot. And this was like right after Koopa and his minions overthrew the particular kingdom. And the weird part was that the weird part about this film, now the girlfriend Lena, who the girlfriend of Koopa, Lena, she got a rock that's pretty much Daisy's rock, I believe, like from her pendant or something like that. But her life got compromised after merging both dimensions. I would say one part of the film would be where one part of the film I really liked was um, where Mario and Luigi basically had these these little big guns and whatnot, these little big machine guns to fend off Koopa's minions and whatnot, and basically used them to defeat Koopa and devolve Koopa into that particular slime, which Daisy's father was at one point. Now, after Koopa got defeated and demolished, you know, Daisy's father, the actual king, got was brought back to life and was restored, and everybody in Dino Haddon was literally hap- was literally pleased and happy. But the weird part, but at the ending part of it, basically the Mario Brothers ended up having to go back into their own town, Brooklyn, and Daisy ended up kissing Luigi goodbye. However, right, but at the very end of the film, um, all of a sudden Daisy comes into the Mario Brothers apartment, and with one of those particular guns, those devolution guns, so they can help her on another mission and whatnot, which is pretty funny, which is pretty interesting right there, because now this was kind of felt like that part of the ending part of the film felt like it left everybody out on a cliffhanger, myself included. But again, I don't. Again, I would think the movie, how it ended, it did leave a lot to be desired. But the plot as a whole was silly and kind of funny too. And again, as mentioned earlier in the video, one thing I love the most about this film is that it's kind of it kind of has that Blade Runner and Mad Max vibe thrown into a blender. But it kind of it the main downside was that it was not terribly true to the source material. Although I will set the record straight that Daisy, the actual princess in the film, Daisy, the actual princess in the film, Daisy, um, it is pretty much no relation to Princess Peach as what we know from the actual Mario games. However, Daisy didn't Daisy as a character didn't make her appearance until the Game Boy game Super Mario Land. And
I think that dinosaur Yoshi was pretty much was pretty much taken from the 1991 video game from the Super Nintendo, uh, Super Mario World. Now, how do I feel about this film? Like I said earlier, it's funny, it's corny, it has its moments. It's not bad, but it could be better. I mean, it's still enjoyable in my humble opinion, but again, it's not a film that's going to win any awards or what have you, you know. And let me be very honest with you, there are a lot of worse movies based on video games that I have seen, but that's a completely different story. But if I were you, and if you were scarred, if you were supposedly scarred by seeing the 1993 Super Mario Brothers film, then I suggest you to give it a second chance. Now, maybe the new movie will will remedy all those issues that will remedy all those problems that plagued in the live action film from '93. And maybe you would feel a whole lot better after it. And especially since, in my humble opinion, I do feel that a lot of video games, I mean, a lot of movies that have been based on video games are starting to become a little better. You know, like back in March of 2020, I've seen the film Sonic the Hedgehog, which, in my humble opinion, that's a perfect example of a video game based movie done right. But again, like I was saying before, uh, the original live action Super Mario Brothers film from '93, in my humble opinion, is not bad, but had it had it gotten to the point where it stayed true to the source material, then it would have been a lot better. And I quite understood how both Mr. Hoskins and Mr. Leguizamo um, basically stated that the movie was a pain in the rear end to work with. And they didn't they didn't understand what the script was or all kinds of stuff. But again, this is just coming from a personal opinion. If I were you, I definitely would give Super Mario Brothers the movie from '93, give it a second chance. I'm Chuck Johnson, a.k.a. Kid Thunder. Thank you for watching this movie review. Stay tuned for more content.